So what's in the box, Richie? Well, there shouldn't be any surprises given the title of this video. It is what I hope is the awesome WLTOYS 104001. Really easy to remember. I do wish they would come up with some fancy names like the Mirage or something like that for them. So in this video, you are going to be seeing yours truly unbox this. Then I'm going to do a separate runtime video of it. We're going to do a speed test, etc. I'm sure a brushless conversion is going to be on the cards. This is the 124019 from WLTOYS, which is a larger version of the 144001. Both of those cars have been hugely popular. In fact, when I first drove the 144001, I said, WLTOYS, if anybody out there is listening, you need to make this in 1/10 scale. I would like to think somebody was, as around about 2 years later, bear in mind these cars can take up to 18 months to develop, we have the 1/10 version of it. So let's see what we get for our money. Link to the car below the video. And shout out to Banggood because it's arrived 4 days early. Time to get to work, see what we get for our money. That looks a little better. So what have we got? 4-wheel drive, ready to run, 2.4 GHz radio, and the spec of that on the outside of the box does seem pretty good. 45 kilometers an hour plus top speed. Yours truly shall be testing that out. And I will say every single WLTOYS car that I've tested has been better than the last one. These people are learning, and they're learning darn fast. They also state it's waterproof. We've got threaded metal shocks all round and optional metal spur and diff gears, as well as ball bearings all round. So finally, Richie gets the lid off. Okay, so what do we get for our money? Our instruction manual, more on that in a second. USB charger, screwdriver to install that rear wing, wheel spanner on there, a few spare track rod ends, the car itself, and our transmitter. Now our transmitter, if you're familiar with the WLTOYS range, you'll be instantly familiar with this on-off switch on there, steering, throttle brake on there, steering trim, and throttle dual rate on here. It does say ready to run, but you will need 4 AA batteries for the transmitter. But this little baby undoubtedly has the battery lurking inside. Speaking of that car, well, this is the new WLTOYS 104001. In a video the other day, I said, is this possibly the biggest threat to Traxxas and Armour out there? Well, now the real thing's arrived, I have to say, I think it quite possibly might be. Anybody out there doubting that these people are learning very, very fast indeed, keep watching, because when you see the spec of this thing, it ain't too bad at all. I will highlight the areas where it's weak in, but these people are learning awfully fast. And anybody that doesn't think they're a threat, guess somebody at Tamiya said exactly the same thing. Traxxas ready to run cars, nothing to worry about, boys. And then somebody at Traxxas, when Armour came along, said, nothing to worry about. The world's evolving, people, and it's evolving fairly fast. Well, first up, before we dive in and look at the detail on the car, just a quick size comparison between this and the 124019, which doesn't come with this spoiler fitted to it, by the way, just to give you some of the differential on size. Just thought that might be useful. Now, first of all, with the 104001, it weighs quite a bit more, which is potentially both a good sign and a bad sign, as the 144001 and the 12409 are very fast because of their light weight. However, when I show you the inside of this thing, some of the features around the car, you'll maybe see where the extra weight comes from, and maybe this is a little bit stronger than people thought. First thing you will notice, the rear tyres substantially larger than the front ones on here. Despite it being 4-wheel drive, on the previous WLTOYS cars, like the 144001, the tyres front and rear were the same size on there. So that is a change on the car. But with the body film peeled off and the wing on, really easy to install with just 2 screws and the washers on there. The whole thing has a very, very racy feel to it indeed. I'm liking this before I've even driven it. But I can tell you right now, I think this is going to be one of the cars of the moment. Around about $150. I'll put a link to it below the video. If you've not got one of these on pre-order, I don't believe if they've not sold out already, they are going to. Starting at the front of the car, we can spot some similarities between this and the 124019. However, on this, we've got big bore threaded aluminum shocks on it. The whole thing has a lot beefier feel to it. The blindingly obvious thing is the thickness of the steel drive shafts. On this car, they tend to be maybe a little bit too thin, and in the event of a shunt, they could get bent maybe. These things look like they're made out of 4, maybe 5 mil of steel on there. Can't see those bending in too much of a hurry. Tyre tread, not too bad, doesn't feel too plasticky. The rear ones, I'm thinking that's going to give great grip on loose dirt, particularly around the track. And this does have the look of a track-orientated buggy around it. And straight away, this is where WLTOYS are learning from previous models on here. The bar containing the hinge pins, both at the front and at the rear here, are substantially thicker on there. Also substantially thicker hinge pins. As I say, every WLTOYS car gets better and better. The one potential weak area is the shock towers. This metal on the other cars is not overly strong, both front or rear. However, you can get carbon fibre parts for that little car over there and a 144001 to replace these shock towers, and no doubt somebody is going to bring those out virtually overnight on here. Now I'm seeing some similarities on the 104001 compared to the 124019. However, as I say, in general, everything is looking substantially more beefy. Again, just check out those steel drive shafts on the back of the car. Whereas the 124019 had CVDs at the back, but not at the front, this does have conventional drive shafts all around. One potential area I would say to change and upgrade immediately would be to put metal track rod ends on here. In the event of a tumble, these plastic ones can tend to pop off and then you maybe lose a drive shaft. If you put threaded aluminum shock rod ends on there, you're going to eliminate that from happening. So I would say that would be one of my first upgrades to make on this car. Tyres, all comments welcomed on the tyres, because undoubtedly people are going to build these into speedrun monsters like these little things are. But what tyres are we going to run? Because obviously we need something a little bigger than those. Anyway, time to get that body off. But that's not before we have a quick look at the underside of the car. Fairly decent size A-arms on there. The hinge pins on these much thicker than the other WLTOYS cars on there. We've got fairly decent screws. These look like you're going to be able to put a screwdriver in there without stripping the heads that we might have had problems on with the other car. Full length metal chassis. Okay, time for the big reveal. Not quite sure what to expect, and it's literally the first time I've seen it. It's when you are seeing it. Okay, well, a lot of that is obviously very new indeed. I can now see where the weight of the car is coming in. Full metal drivetrain on the inside, but it does mention metal spur gear is an optional extra on here. So I'm assuming you may have got a plastic gear sitting under there, but undoubtedly we will have a metal pinion gear. Anyway, let me check out those drive shafts. And that is a 4mm thick steel drive shaft, both at the rear and at the front on here. Metal couplings all round, adding to the weight of the car. We've also got a couple of metal braces underneath the car on here to add strength on it, which I'm guessing is to stop any flex on the chassis, although the chassis on the WLTOYS cars tend to be pretty good anyway. And if you're a WLTOYS fan, you will notice we've got a full-size servo in here for the first time. Downside is it's a combined ESC and receiver, and we've got a 5-wire servo fitted to it. So you will need to replace the servo with a 3-wire one if you brush this, as I'm planning on doing, with one of these cars after I've tested the heck out of this thing. 550 can motor, heatsink on here, which differs from the smaller WLTOYS cars, where they've actually put heatsink compound underneath the motor, so the chassis acts as a heatsink itself. But I'm guessing in this case they went for the heatsink, as the motor is going to be working a little bit harder. Dean's connectors on the car, 2200 milliamp 2S LiPo on here. Now the first thing I would say is I believe this is actually a spur under here as opposed to a differential. I did say initially I thought it might be a diff, but from various people online have told me it's just a spur under here. It is my gut feel is that somebody, if not WLTOYS, will be producing a diff for this car. Why is that, Richie? Why would you not just put one long drive shaft through there to save on money with a gear in the middle of it? Why go to all this expense if you did not have a centre diff coming for this car? I hope people can understand the logic behind that explanation. So I'm thinking there will be a different centre differential coming for this car very shortly indeed as an upgrade. If WLTOYS don't want to go for it, then I'm sure some of the aftermarket people will do. And some people queried, is this an aftermarket dream? I think it is. Change the shock towers for carbon fibre ones. Change the plastic rod ends and for aluminium or steel threaded ones on there. And to my mind, straight out of the box, that is all the upgrades you're going to need on this car. Now, traditionally, they've not come with the most grease or oil in the differentials. So I would say, check those. Likewise, check the amount of shock oil that you've got in there. And do not be afraid to play around with the shock oil weights in these cars, because playing around with the shock oil and the spring tensions on there can greatly improve and change the handling of the car down to your own personal driving preference. But if you're thinking, lightweight WLTOYS, this thing is a different beast, I don't know if that's going to be a downside, because cars like this go very, very fast because of their lightweight, because this, straight out of the box, has an awful lot going for it. Drop from round a foot, that didn't bottom out. Bear in mind, the springs are set at the maximum height on here. But I have to say, to anyone that was laughing when you said, Richie, WLTOYS not going to be a threat to Armour or Traxxas, when you pick one of these up, and hopefully when you drive it, I think you might just be changing your mind. My biggest worry is the shock towers in the event of a hard flip over. But everything else has been made so much more beefier on the car, it is untrue. WLTOYS are learning very, very fast indeed. I'll use that analogy again. Somebody at Tamiya, who dominated the RC car scene in the 80s, probably said, yeah, Traxxas, ready to run cars, no threat, don't worry about them. I think bigger boys out there should definitely be worried about this. $154 for what, all-metal drivetrain? Hey, who else makes cars with an all-metal drivetrain? Not quite sure if I can remember. One of the things I noticed on here, the little bit of flex that you had in the steering on a 144001 or 124019, completely gone. This whole steering assembly is far, far beefier, very little flex, if anything at all in there, and that feels super smooth. So what difference does that full-size steering servo make to the car? Well, the steering is now absolutely silky smooth, no movement in there, no vibration, anything else. It is absolutely awesome, the difference between this and the 124019. And I did mention checking the oil in the shocks. I'm guessing we haven't got an awful lot fitted in there, either at the front or at the rear on the minute, so I'll probably rectify that before I actually go out and do its first test drive, which I've done after I've charged that battery up. Will be interesting to see just how fast this thing goes with that stock 2S pack. Will that ESC take 3S? My gut feel is possibly not, but I might give it a try when I'm ready to change the thing over to brushless. If it goes bang, then not a big worry. Okay, upgrade potential is huge. If you want to go brushless or even upgrade the stock brush system on here, you're going to need to change over this combined ESC and receiver. But a 6-channel Dumbo RC radio, including built-in gyro, is yours for around about $35, something like that, which would enable you then to fit in a 3-wire servo, maybe a little bit stronger, as I'm going to do over the next few days. But first of all, I'm going to test the heck out of this baby. I thought it rather rude not to go out and give it a little bit of throttle. Ooh, nice brakes. Love good brakes. That is absolutely exceptional on the braking. You can tell the weight of the car. Ooh. Well, I have to say, I can see why they fitted smaller tyres at the front than the rear to improve the handling on here. Oh, I think I'm loose dirt. You can put your tail out on that, but very, oh, if you are new to RC, this car very beginner friendly indeed. Just a stock 2S LiPo in here. Not blistering quick acceleration. It's fast as opposed to ultra rapid, but the brakes absolutely outstanding on here. And that steering radius is ridiculously good. I mean, ridiculously good. Just its first run, literally, I've not driven a yard on it before now. Those brakes though. So, full throttle acceleration. Not bad. Sorry guys for the limited space. I've got it in. It is not doing badly at all. Over grass, what's it like over grass? Let's go see. Ooh, considering those shocks, I think I've got virtually no oil in them at the minute. Oh man. Didn't want to do that, Rich. No. Oh, this is everything I thought it would be and more.
turn the hard throttle on there. It is not getting kicked around. Bear in mind, I've done nothing with the shocks at all. Stock out the box, and I don't think they've got a lot of oil. Braking, absolutely exceptional. So if you were thinking of getting one of these for you or your kids, I would say this is everything I thought it would be. Yeah, because for $150, this is a huge amount of car for the money. And the weak points on it that I mentioned, things like the shock towers and things like that, if you keep the car stock, they're not going to be a problem at all. Could it do with a sensor diff? I think possibly not. The handler on it seems absolutely, it's not getting kicked around at all. Man, I cannot wait to convert this thing to brushless. This is gonna be you're just gonna be a hoonigan. Oh man, it can take a knock as well. For this price point, this is an awful lot of car for the money.
So I hope you all like my unboxing of WLTOYS 104001. I do wish they would call them some proper names like the Mirage, etc. But while that video I did the other day, saying is this the biggest threat to Traxxas and Armour in years, was that slightly tongue-in-cheek. WLTOYS are learning all the time. Every single car they make is better than the last one, as can be seen by a lot of the upgraded parts on this car. The shock towers, I would say, are still the weak point on the car, but then they didn't design them for people doing like 100-mile-an-hour speed runs with them, which is where they tend to buckle over. If you're just driving the thing at 45 kilometers an hour, I'm sure the thing is absolutely fine. There are a few downsides, like check that shock oil and the diff grease in there, but that isn't a big thing to change to my mind, not given the price point of around about $150, $154. This thing doesn't feel like a lightweight car anymore, which could be both good and bad. Bad potentially from a speed run because the other cars went very, very fast because they were lightweight. This thing has a feeling it could take quite good bashing. What I'm trying to come across with these people is, I just like good RC cars. I don't care who makes them. And the next world-class design is potentially, it's not going to come from Traxxas, not going to come from Armour. Some third party, particularly now so much of the RC market, due to COVID, has gone online. Something like this could be the next game changer. As I said early on in this video, I'm sure there's somebody at Tamiya that laughed and said, Traxxas RTR, what danger are they? The world's changing, people. If you want to change with it or not, that's up to you. Personally, I'm always very open-minded on any new RC car, and this does promise to be a cracker. I've told you about a few areas where I think it's weak on. Over the next few days, we shall test the heck out of this thing. So if you don't want to miss those videos, don't forget to like, share and subscribe. But this thing, to my mind, for the money, absolutely cracking value. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.